Hey friends. I just kind of got to the end of a workday and something's coming through about just the nature. I guess I've been thinking about there's kind of two thoughts that I'm marrying right now, because one of them is I've really been reflecting on what the next couple months are going to be. And Katie and I were talking to our therapist today, he was, just kind of always knows how to ask the one right question for what we need. And what he asked was, Katie and I said, we're doing such different things these days. I'm spending my days just down this rabbit hole of a certain creative project, and she's running an institution. So not only are we not really in contact, but we're living in completely different worlds in terms of what our days actually involve. And so what that means is that, in contrast to many years, I would say the entire time we've known each other up until relatively recently, where we were working side by side on many projects at the same time. We had our own kind of side gigs, but the main creative focus of our life was shared. That shifted sometime around the time that Annalise was born, and she became the shared project, or a shared project, and creatively we began to go our own separate ways. Now that wasn't entirely true, because we were still sharing a writing project, and there was all kinds of ways in which we had a lot of overlap since then. But certainly in the last 18 months, we've really gone our own way. And so what our therapist was pointing out is like, yeah, that can create some distance, and it's fine. But that distance can actually be healthy, and in our case, I think it was healthy. But you also want to make sure that there's not too much distance, that you don't kind of just wander off into disconnection from the fact that you're both so individually oriented. And that really it rings true for me, not because I think we're necessarily in danger of that, but because I look at this month and we're like, I'm squatting in my own house. I'm in the room. I mean, look at this. This is what this room looks like. There's just stuff junked in here from the film shoot. This is Katie's office. I'm cloistered in my office every day because I can't really. I mean, I can leave. I can walk. I can go anywhere I want in the house. But there's dozens of people everywhere. So, kind of like I only have one space to myself, and besides, it's where I work. So, but we're there. This is the next 2 weeks, and then it'll be the holidays. It'll be mid-December. We'll go through Christmas and New Year's, and it'll be massive family come into town time and all that. And then I'll go to Houston for, well, as it's planned now, 2 months. And Katie and Annalise will come visit, and I'm just looking at all this and reflecting on what, I can't help but frame it all from the point of view of Annalise. I can't help but just think about how is it gonna affect her. That's the most important thing. There are other important things, the work itself, and there's a variety of things that I think are significant in this moment and about this process. But the most important one is, what is the effect on Annalise? And I have a hard time imagining leaving her for as long as I'm going to be gone. So I'm wrestling with that. And, I guess what I something that came through a few days ago, which is the other half of this thought that I'm trying to, the other thought that I'm kind of marrying to this circumstance that I'm processing, is that when I think back to my childhood, think about my parents, think about how life felt as a child. And there's this amazing, it's like the older you get, the more you realize, oh, this is how it works. Because I think back to our life and, living abroad, father as a performing artist, my mother also working a variety of kind of writing jobs, but also really kind of focused on the home. And it's like my parents seemed so secure in the fact that that life was an adventure. It's like they just had no trouble embracing that. Now, this is, mind you, I'm giving you my childhood perspective. I'm letting you know how it felt to me at the time. I don't pretend to know that that's how they felt, but I suspect that there's a correlation there, because how it felt to me was probably coming off of them. It was probably, being transmitted by them. So I'm kind of amazed when I think about where my parents were, where they came from, and what they did with their life, and how they made that seem so normal, made that seem so comfortable, and so it was like I just knew that I just always knew things were, it wasn't so much about things were safe, but things were good. Things were actually really it's like you could rely on the universe to be exciting and supportive and playful. And it occurs to me as I get older, how much of that was consciously manufactured by my parents. It wasn't just the way the world was to them necessarily. It wasn't the way that either of them grew up. It was what they manifested through their choices and through their vision of what life could be like. And then they just created that. They just made that reality. And as a child, I just received how that was the case. It was like I didn't doubt it, but I also wouldn't have said that I have firm conviction in it, because I wouldn't have known. It was like the water you swim in. A fish doesn't believe that water will support it and give it all the nutrients it needs. A fish doesn't know that it doesn't know anything other than to swim in water. So that's kind of how I feel about these experiences. It was like this was just the way the world is, and it's as I get older, and it's as I have a daughter, and it's as I have experiences that are in my adventure in life, that I start to appreciate just what level of awareness and what level of conscious engagement and continuous presence my parents maintained and created. It's like it's all of a sudden all the things I took for granted become things that I am like, wow, I had no idea. There's no way to take them for granted now, because of where I am and because of what, just because of what I've experienced and what and what I now know goes into creating these experiences. It's a total game changer in terms of what it means to create a reality. And again, I come back to the adventure I'm going on and how that affects Annalise. And I think what comes through really clearly also, if I talk about what I was talking about on my post yesterday about pursuing creative projects with patience, joy, and disinterestedness, as it said in the Cecil Day Lewis's poem, it's like that becomes even more important because everything I feel internally is being absorbed. I'm telling Annalise what reality is. I'm teaching her what reality. I'm teaching her the way the world is. I'm not teaching her a version of the world and what Papa's day was like today. When I come home and I express to her what my day was like today, what I'm imprinting her with is the way the world is. And just clocking that, just registering that that's the case and being aware of it. I think it's the kind of thing you could easily drive yourself nuts if you got too perfectionist about what am I transmitting? What am I transmitting? I want to make sure I transmit the right thing. What am I transmitting? Well, now you're transmitting that you're afraid to transmit anything, and the transmitting stuff is scary. And you're transmitting that the world is scary. So you could easily drive yourself nuts trying to manipulate that effect. At the same time, being aware of it is, I'd rather be aware of it than unaware of it. If I'm unaware of it, God knows what, it's like that. Then I mean, yeah. Well, it's not really relevant to analyze that because I'm not unaware of it. I am aware of it, and I think, but it drives home so many of the larger points that I've been contemplating recently about my own choices, my own decisions, my own creative work, what my life is about, and taking those choices deadly serious, and making those choices true to myself, true to my heart. Because then I'm living in a world where I follow my heart. I'm living in a world where I'm seeing the result of following my heart every day, and I'm receiving the blessings of what my heart truly needs to grow every day. And I'm communicating to Annalise that the world is a place where you follow your heart and you receive the blessings of that process. And so I guess that's how I'm taking it, and that's how I'm stitching these various things together right now. I'm really not looking forward to going away. The project is cool, but I'm not looking forward to being away. It really makes me. I'm gonna miss her, and I have to reckon with that and work with that, and but ultimately I also have to be true to what my calling is, because then I'm communicating to her that's what the world is. The world is a place where you follow the deepest calling, where you do the work you're passionate about. I don't want to transmit that you don't take projects because you're afraid of being away from home. So, anyway, this is where I'm this is where I'm some of what's coming up as we enter into a phase where from now until the next 3 months, essentially, it's going to be very much upheaval compared to what we've had for the last several months, where our routine was regular and she was getting into school and things were kind of smoothing out. So yeah, that's where I am today, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate the engagement. It means so much to me. Mwah. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.